Yep. Those are all Clint's girlfriends. He likes them bold, beautiful, and butch. Welcome back.
Looks like a WNBA lineup.
It's probably true. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Rudowski here of thebestpoliticalshow.com, and we are going to be going live talking about all the latest and craziest news developing right now, as of course there's a lot to talk about, as it looks like the Democratic own internal poll numbers have come out, and right now everybody is looking at Kamala. Reluctantly, but they're looking at her as RFK Jr. is being accused of eating dogs. You heard that correctly. Is that how he got his brain warm? We're going to be discussing that as Joe Biden is missing a brain as he's getting his rug pulled right out of him, as we have new shocking updates about the story of the decade as well that we're going to be talking about in this particular broadcast, surrounding, of course, Mr. Epstein and a lot of other crazy stuff. We're going to have this conversation for the next 2 hours, so please share this broadcast with your friends and family members. It is more imperative than ever that you do that in order to help independent media and fight the larger kind of algorithm changes that want to prevent independent voices from getting out there. As of course, you guys get to also participate in the conversation. One quick and easy way to do that is through lukeunfiltered.com, because when you sign up, you get the ability to call in to the show. And when you do, you could ask us whatever you want. You get to be a part of the show. We don't script anything. These are off-the-cuff questions from random people. You could be that random person right now, a part of that conversation, just by signing up to lukeunfiltered.com and going into the Telegram group and letting me know that you guys want to specifically call in. As of course, we're also going to be giving away tickets to the Bitcoin conference this week, just for members of LukeUnfiltered.com. Again, we have about 5 tickets to give away. Tickets are like $550. Again, if you're a member of LukeUnfiltered.com, you might get a ticket for free just by simply being a member. I'm going to let people know how we're going to do that contest in a little bit. As of course, you could also super chat during the show, and we are going to be doing our best to read any and all super chats. We prefer you guys use mysuperchat.com, a service that only takes a 3% service charge rather than, of course, the 30% that YouTube takes away from us and you. Again, mysuperchat.com, and your super chat actually shows up on screen, which I think is absolutely awesome and incredible. As of course, joining us for tonight's conversation is, I think, one of my oldest friends, someone who has been kind of in this business, in this kind of industry for a while. Every time we do a video, it goes super viral. And we definitely have a lot of history. We're going to be going back through that history and talking about a lot of crazy stuff with Alex from Hack Miami. Alex, for the people who don't know you, who are you and how would you introduce yourself?
Thank you for having me, Luke. It's an honor to be on here. So my background is I was a founder of the Hack Miami conference, been running it for the last 10 years. I'm essentially I'm a white hat hacker. I've been known for breaking into Russian organized crime, stealing their stuff and selling it back to the banks. And I ended up making my bones doing that. And I ended up being part of a startup that ended up getting pretty big. And now I'm just continuing on that route, being the white hat, doing what's good.
Yeah, Alex is extremely capable. I mean, you are, I would say, like one of the master Jedis when it comes to being online. The stories that we broke and the stuff that you were a part of is absolutely crazy. In real time, we're going to be hacking Clint's browsing history and releasing that data to the general public, right, Clint?
Yes. Here we go.
Let's hope not. I'd rather not be ruined just like RFK Jr. was today. Anyways, at Liberty Lock Pod on X, if you want to follow me and support my work, you can subscribe there. After the big purge, I lost a whole bunch of people. I don't know what the heck's going on, but
On what platform?
on X.
Okay.
Yeah, it's weird. Liberty Lockdown is the show, and I will have the great Ron Paul on the 4th of July, and the following day I will have on Ian Carroll, a.k.a. Cancel Cloco, the TikTok sensation, X sensation. So it's going to be a great week of shows. So subscribe to Liberty Lockdown. And Steph, how are you feeling?
We were joking about hacking yourself, but if anyone could do it, it's Alex.
Please don't. I'm begging you.
Hey, it's all. I'm not going to do it unless you ask me to, right? I don't go work for free. Right?
This is not white hat to ruin my life. Do not do that. Thank you.
Well, you know, we'll see. We'll find out during the course of this show. Steph's in the house as well. She has pledged and promised to talk throughout the majority of the show, right, Steph?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited because Alex and I go way back. I'm just kidding. No, actually, I have met Alex before back in the day when I was working with Luke and We Are Changed. So I'm super excited to hear from you today and to get going. I am Steph. We Are Change, official button pusher, ready to push buttons.
Was that like 10 years ago or like 12 years ago?
Oh, yeah, it was a little more than 10 years ago. I'm really not trying
Was
to do
it a
the math.
Federal Jack or a Hack Miami event? Which do you remember?
Actually, it was an after hours.
It was just
us.
hanging out.
We were literally hanging out at a hookah bar doing some computer stuff.
Based. All right.
And then there's another video. Steph, you were a part of this one. You could go back on this channel where on my birthday, I made it a YouTube video to actually reach out to my audience and try to make their wishes happen. And then me and Steph, right? Is this correct?
Yes.
We literally spent the entire day, and this is like 12 years ago, driving all around Miami. And one person said that he lost his kind of video footage and he couldn't get it back. You were able to help him get that video footage back.
That's the day.
And that's the day. And then you're like, wait, let me fix this. And then you did the impossible and helped this. And then we just did a bunch of crazy stuff all over town for one of my birthdays where I literally spent giving back to you guys, the audience. So we did a lot of like weird creative stuff. But that's the low level type of stuff that, of course, you're capable of. As again,
I love that. I love that you remember that.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah, there's stuff we were hanging out just a few days ago, and there's stuff that you remember specifically around like Alex Jones that I totally forgot about.
Yeah, you introduced me to Alex Jones.
Yeah. And there was a crazy story around there where you again. I don't know if I got to be careful. I don't know what we could say, what we can't say, but I'll tell you, like some of the stuff that happens behind the scenes, absolutely crazy, absolutely just bonkers, and we'll get into a little bit. I think we're gonna have to save some of the topics for an hour in when we go to that other platform, but. Let's just get into the news because there's a lot of stuff happening right now that I think is very important to talk about. And of course, I think one of the biggest stories that broke today is that Donald Trump's sentencing has now officially been pushed back all the way up until September 18th. It was supposed to happen in just a few days from now, as a lot of people were saying, hey, the Biden administration is pretty desperate. They might try to pull some strings. They might try to do everything they can to try to put him in jail so he can't go to the RNC. Well, now Donald Trump is going to be at the RNC. This sentencing, in light of the recent Supreme Court ruling, which we're going to be talking about later as well, also highlights how a lot of the charges are just going to go poof, are going to go pretty much, as a lot of legal experts say, just automatically gone from Donald Trump, which really signals a larger kind of political change in this country that a lot of people didn't expect. Because if you remember just a few weeks ago, the polls were extremely close. The Biden administration and a lot of Democrats in a lot of states and a lot of cities were putting a lot of pressure on Donald Trump, on his administration, on his associates of his former administration, as of course Steve Bannon is literally in jail as we're speaking right now. A lot of his more populist supporters have felt the pressure from the DOJ and the FBI and federal investigations. All the establishment neoconservative ones for some reason aren't, which is, a little strange here. But this is, I think, good news. We'll get into the potential conspiracies here and what could be happening here. But are you guys surprised about this ruling that Alvin Braggs was a part of? Alvin Braggs, the guy who prosecuted Donald Trump, said, yeah, this is okay. We could postpone it. We could wait for it. I think the Supreme Court has kind of set a way for Donald Trump to not be held responsible for anything and not be criminally charged at all from now.
Well, I think it makes perfect tactical sense. You would want the conviction, or the sentencing, to come down as close to Election Day as possible. As fast as the news cycle moves, I would think that you would prefer that he be sentenced within, I think the math on that would be 6 or 7 weeks before the election. That might actually still stick if you sentence him, late July, early August. I think that it would kind of already have lost its luster, and also you might have the Supreme Court with an injunction that prevents him from being jailed or something like that. So I think that's the reason that they're okay with it. I think that they would prefer it be closer to the election.
Yeah, some legal experts say that the charges are just going to get dropped because of the Supreme Court stuff, which makes me kind of speculate. Maybe there's something else going on here. Alex?
It makes me wonder that if this entire charade is not a way to get him elected again.
Yeah.
Because it's the...
We've been openly theorizing.
I've always kind of been, I don't dislike him, but he's not my favorite, but he's done some cool things. So, and now with all this heat coming on him, absolutely, I want to throw my support behind him. And all the whole thing in Georgia. I have, we can we talk about this in the after YouTube thing. I have some friends who are former CIA who've been doing some cool stuff with the election fraud in the previous thing. There's a lot of stuff going on, but again, my opinions on the dude, as Bush said, regardless.
Yeah.
There's definitely some interesting things going on that are going to be precedent setting.
Yeah, and I think what you just said is what a lot of us here in this room kind of feel. Like we weren't the biggest diehard Donald Trump supporters, but as soon as they started attacking him, as soon as they started to punish him unjustly and go after him for not filing his accounting correctly,
he's against the New World Order, and that's the issue. If he's against the NWO, he's an enemy.
Yeah, well, and if he truly is, then he's kind of an ally to me. So that
exactly. That's what I mean. He's an enemy to the bad guys.
But it's tough to know definitively because, as we've talked about a month ago, he was credited by so many different politicians with greenlighting the additional $100 billion in aid to 3 proxy wars, and it's like, well, that doesn't come across as an America First, make America great again dude. That sounds like a guy who's making deals to get charges dropped and maybe get back in the White House.
And that could have been the gamut. That could have been the deal that we were speculating on. Right. Like he was, according to Lindsey Graham and according to himself, and according to Mike Johnson, it was Donald Trump that helped pass the Ukrainian spending bill.
Nobody can be perfect, right? Like they have to make if they want to stay there for a long time, they have to play the game of it.
But see, the reason that I then go back to thinking, okay, maybe Trump is genuinely an outsider in that, why are they trying to replace Biden if they do want to beat Trump? It's interesting because I don't think that tactically they can actually believe that Kamala is a good option. It seems to me like Michelle's the only one that has an actual chance to beat him. But if you are actually ceding the territory, if you're giving Trump back the White House, why would you not just continue to run Biden and let him get trounced? I don't know. There's a lot of variables that I'm trying to.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving kind of plates on this table.
Yeah, I can't just I was trying to think of a way to be like no. But no, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. By the way, I just realized who this guy reminds me of. You remind me of John Turturro in The Big Lebowski.
Thank you, I guess.
You don't F with the Jesus, man.
Exactly. Alex is a legend, man. You don't know how lucky we are to have him here.
He's a white hat hacker with gold fronts wearing a tracksuit who hacks Russia. Are you a Ukrainian?
I am not, but I have friends who are, and they're not. They don't know what to make of me.
Again, we'll get into all of it, but it does seem like the political landscape has shifted as we're getting internal Democratic poll numbers, specifically also highlighting the election map that many people now in the political sphere are saying is going to dedicate.
24 map.
Yeah. This is the projected poll numbers that
do they
shows
even have
the delegates.
Hawaii going to Trump? That's crazy.
No, Hawaii's blue, so Hawaii's going to Biden.
Oh, okay.
So also blue.
Do those electoral maps?
Yeah, so that's the electoral college, and if Donald Trump has enough votes in those specific states, he's able to get the electoral college. Some are partial, some are not, but this is the projection that a lot of political analysts are highlighting today.
How many more blue things would be needed? Because I know less blue is needed than red.
Well, under these projections right now, the Democrats would get 180 delegates, and the Republicans would get 358
so
Republicans.
They would need twice as many.
Yes,
blues.
you need 270 delegates to win, as of course the Biden administration has already given up on Florida. But the key states are really going to be Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin, and
true
those
swing
people,
states.
those
Those are
swing
true
states,
swing states,
yes.
yeah.
And then according to the poll numbers, Donald Trump is now leading Joe Biden in all of the swing states, every single last one of them: Georgia, Arizona, Nevada,
Sorry,
Pennsylvania,
one more time,
Wisconsin,
sir.
Michigan.
You said Joe Biden is leading.
No,
Trump?
Donald Trump
Oh,
is leading Joe
The other
Biden
way.
in
Okay.
every single swing state decisively. And if that happens, the election forecast clearly does highlight that the Republicans are going to be winning this upcoming presidential election. Now, I think these numbers are being shared deliberately right now to cause kind of fear and panic within the Democratic Party that look like they're getting absolutely just wrecked right now. And there's serious conversations, even CBS News directly asking Kamala Harris, hey, are you going to be leading the country if necessary? And she had a very interesting response to this. Let's play the clip.
We know that Chief Justice Roberts said that the president is not above the law. What's your take on this?
Well, let's just be clear. It's one of the foundational principles in our system of justice that no one is above the law. And
She's ready to take
when we
25th.
have a candidate in Donald Trump who's openly said he'll be a dictator on day one, that he will weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies, it is very likely that he could be immune from those kinds of acts. And we have to take seriously the stakes of this election in terms of the thought that we could have a president in the White House who thinks he's immune and able then to make decisions with that office that include weaponizing the Department of Justice against his political enemies or being a dictator on day one.
And speaking about
Yeah, it sounds like something that they're doing. Exactly.
I'm going to hold my tongue till the second part because that is crooked.
Yeah.
It's just mind-boggling that like you can sit there with a straight face and say Donald Trump might weaponize the DOJ. We have to do everything to stop him.
They already did it.
Yeah.
I know, but
already did
this is classic Trump warfare in that everything that they're guilty of, literally everything, they accuse him of.
Yeah,
and then
Saul Alinsky.
Yes, rules for radicals. They impeach him. They do everything they go after this guy for. They're actually guilty of, including Pelosi when it came to calling in the National Guard on that fateful January morning, which I will not mention.
January 6th. Is that on the list? Can we not say that?
I think we're okay.
When I say I'm not mentioning something, try not to fill in the blank.
12th. January 12th.
Let's continue the clip here.
stakes? You just came out of a fundraiser. We know that many in your party have expressed concerns about President Biden's health. Just this morning, Congressman Doggett said that he's calling on President Biden to withdraw from the race, given that there's too much at stake to risk a Trump victory. What's your response to this?
Look, Joe Biden is our nominee. We beat Trump once, and we're going to beat him again, period.
Are you ready to lead the country if necessary?
I am proud to be Joe Biden's running mate. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
she really didn't like that specific, very pointed question, and you could see on her face, she was like, "Oh crap, I'm out of here."
It's like we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah.
That's actually.
Yeah, but very loyal statement from Kamala, sticking with Joe Biden and somehow delusionally thinking that they could still win this upcoming election, unless they have some like tricks up their sleeve. Unless maybe Biden's playing possum. We entertained that kind of possibility yesterday, which I don't think is really happening. No. Unless there's like a Terminator robotic Biden 2.0 that's going to be coming out here, which who knows with the latest technological advancements. Alex, you could tell us more about this than I think anyone else. But like, I don't see it. No one sees it. Everyone knows that is just an empty kind of statement from Kamala Harris, like most of her statements. And is she delusional? Is she crazy? Or is she just obeying Joe Biden and then playing the good counterpart to him and understanding that she needs to stay loyal now because if she does dissent, she is one of the main central figures that really could make or break the entire Biden political career.
Well, I think it's very important to understand that this cannot be accomplished unless Biden actually plays ball. Like if he wants to stay in there and he refuses to leave, then they're stuck with him. Like this, that's where we're at right now. So the reason that they're all being loyal, at least the insiders to the Biden regime are being super loyal, is that I think they want to stay in his good graces so that they still have his ear, so maybe they can persuade him. But don't get it twisted. Kamala would absolutely slip the in if she could. She wants to be the president. She's obviously. So I think
She's a professional at slipping things in.
yeah, well, that's true. Madam Knee Pads. But I think that's the reason that you see the Gavin Newsoms of the world and the Kamalas of the world are all and Pelosi's of the world for the most part are staying loyal. Is that they don't want to make Joe go on the defensive. I think behind the scenes though, I have to imagine that they're telling him the truth and that they're trying to encourage him to drop.
Well, according to the reports, Joe Biden is keeping Joe away from anyone who is trying to get him to drop out.
Right.
So those are the reports that are kind of coming out there. But I was going to ask you guys, is she a person that wants the presidency? Is she someone that is just playing possum here?
No,
Does
I would say
yeah.
yes. She wants the presidency.
Oh, yeah.
She has that. She has that ambition.
You don't spend that much time on your knees if you're not trying to get all the way to the top.
She definitely worked her way to the top.
I'm not going to say my suspected reasons as to why, but she has. My impression is she has objectives. She has an agenda, and let's see what happens. Right?
Can we just talk about this seriously for a second? Because setting aside all of the different figureheads that might get swapped out Game of Thrones style, this is if you believe that the President of the United States is in fact the commander-in-chief, which I'm not at all certain is the case, but assuming that is the case, we are in multiple proxy wars with nuclear powers. It is genuinely concerning that they aren't actually moving forward with the 25th Amendment. This guy, if he is actually the commander-in-chief,
They wouldn't have passed the bill.
Extraordinarily dangerous. This
They
is a
wouldn't have
national
put the
security
bill
threat.
in if they weren't doing it. Like they put the 25th Amendment bill in because they suspect it to be a real possibility.
Well, who put it in?
I don't know.
Well,
Like, it's
I know
one of the Congress people.
Well,
put
yeah,
it
I
in.
mean, there's been Republicans that have been pushing for the 25th for a while now, but I'm saying like
But it got
this
pushed
should be
this week, though.
bipartisan. Like you ought to actually remove this guy if he's as bad as he appears to be, and I think he is. I mean, I've been watching this for years now as he's rapidly deteriorated. You cannot have him ultimately be in charge of dictating terms of negotiation when it comes to Vladimir Putin or Israel, Palestine, or China, Taiwan.
Do they want that though? Because maybe that weakens the United States, and that's the New World Order agenda.
Well, that's also a possibility that they're working against the interests of America. I mean, we've certainly seen enough signs to make that seem plausible.
Yeah. But Joe Biden is calling, allegedly the shots. And just 6 hours ago, the United States and his administration announced that they're going to be giving Ukraine an additional $2.3 billion in military assistance, more than the $60 billion that already is allocated, that already is being spent, that already is being sent over there, and in my opinion, just absolutely wasted away and obliterated, along with the lives of many young Ukrainian men that sadly are no longer here on this planet. But this is another major development from today, as of course, the 25th Amendment should be used. Absolutely. And I think Joe Biden is just trying to do everything in his power to make sure, or Jill Biden, or his puppet regime, or his deep state, or his bureaucrats, or his special interest groups that have put him in the position of power are doing everything they can to, of course, get every last drop out of this presidency. Right. And that includes, here, a couple more billion. No one voted for this. No one supported. Here you go.
Look, do you think you could win that war with this latest allegation, like this latest appropriation? Like here, Luke Radowski, here's money.
Here's another.
Go defeat Russia for this billions. What would you do?
It's an unwinnable gambit.
Yeah.
You can't win.
No way.
Like there's no with the manpower, with just the pure kind of natural resources that Russia has, along with their alliances now with India, with China, with Iran, with North Korea, and their ability to create military shells that much quicker, that much cheaper than the Western world, and their manpower. It's a gambit that is not worth fighting.
You sound like a traitor.
Yeah.
You don't believe
yes.
in NATO or American
mercenaries, military might, and all the people getting
Go
their
back
teeth
to
kicked
Russia.
keep in mind too, the Russian Secretary of Defense came out a couple days ago saying that they believe, well, now this could be propaganda, truly it could be, but they believe that NATO is providing nuclear material to Ukraine to create a dirty bomb. I have no idea if that's accurate, but my point in bringing it up is we can't have a guy whose brain doesn't work, who's ultimately responsible in dictating terms of negotiating a peace. I'm not a big Donald Trump supporter by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly he's more cogent, he's more capable, he seems more interested in peace. For that reason alone, I would prefer him to be in that position than Joe Biden at this junction. It's just so dangerous. But I think the reason that they pretended that the emperor had clothes for so many years is that he's this perfect empty vessel. He enables them to get everything that they want done, and he doesn't put up a fight because he doesn't even know that he's in the fight. So I think that's the reason. But now they can't pretend and have the general public still believe it. So I think that's the reason that they're kind of having a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah, there was another article about Ukraine and NATO discussing how to Trump-proof Ukrainian military aid for the future.
Right.
I forgot who, I think it was the Wall Street Journal. I'm not clear, but I remember showing that article earlier today from my own original kind of report that I do for this particular channel. But it's pretty clear they expect Donald Trump to win. And I think if he is going to win, we're going to see some very kind of weird, desperate, and grasping at the straws-like behavior from the Democrats that know that their seat of power is ending. And just like kind of throwing away that ring in Lord of the Rings, a lot of people don't want to give up that ring. They don't want to give up that power, that influence.
Of course. I mean, especially if you fought for 50 plus years like Joe has. But I think that the most slept on aspect of the debate, if you just set aside the fact that Biden performed terribly and Trump destroyed him, the most important thing that I heard in that entire debate was actually something that Trump didn't deny, which was Joe Biden accusing him of planning to exit NATO. And Trump just kind of like hemmed and hawed, but he never denied it. Yep. I think that's a really big deal. So I hope that that's a sign that this guy is actually going to go against the world order. I have not been convinced at all that he's on our side, particularly after he was credited with that $100 billion in foreign aid package. However, if he exits NATO, he will signal definitively that he is on the side of the American people and not the empire, and that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm releasing a video for members tomorrow where I kind of speculated how Trump winning the presidency could be a part of a larger plot or a larger kind of 4D chess kind of larger move because of many particular aspects. It could be potentially because they're just planning on dumping the dollar, destroying the U.S. economy, and what better way to do it than to do it under the Trump administration? Right. I think that's one possibility. I gave out 4 possibilities to why, if you are like the deep state, you would want Donald Trump in that position of power. And I think crashing the dollar could be one of them, as it could be blamed on Republican populist kind of right-wing policies, rather than, of course, the overzealous spending by the duopoly, by both of the parties. And what better way to kind of say, game over, dollar doesn't mean anything, than to blame it directly on, you see what happens? This is all because of Trump. This is all because of America First. This is all because we didn't prioritize the U.S. petrodollar, or we got out of NATO, or we didn't finance these wars. Look what happens when you don't follow the status quo. So that could be, something that could happen. And that's my own kind of conspiracy-minded thinking that clearly is speculation and a larger extrapolation of what I believe could potentially be happening here. But that's my kind of conspiracy theory to why they could just say, yeah, let's clear the roads for him. He'll play ball with us. He'll give us, Ukrainian aid now, but we have something bigger at play here that's really going to backfire on him later down the line, or he's going to be a perfect player to create the next thing that we're going to blame him and his supporters for.
Yeah, well, I think it's a distinct possibility. It's been 15 years since there was a recession in this country, despite the fact that we were in a pandemic lockdown that should have driven us into a deep depression in 2020. Trump and the congressional representatives decided to print us into oblivion to keep us out of that hole. But that does not mean, this is where Austrian economics is so important, understanding the boom-bust cycle. All they did was delay the day of reckoning, and they know for sure that if you hike interest rates north of double digits, that you're going to plummet this economy into oblivion, or you drop the rates back down to zero and you create hyperinflation because of all the trillions that you've printed. I mean, we're talking tens of trillions of dollars since the last recession that have been printed and borrowed. That is a figure that you cannot get past. You cannot just write it off. it's going to create havoc. And I agree with Luke's thesis
Yep.
that it would make tremendous sense for them to try and drop that hammer while Trump's in power.
It doesn't seem like they're going to stop it either. 'Cause you always hear rumors about the new stimulus act or a new bill coming out or a new printing coming out.
Yeah. And then let's be honest here, Donald Trump doesn't have the best kind of fiscal conservative record here.
No kidding.
He spent a lot of money as president of the United States. And I think Joe Biden still isn't able to spend as much as he did during his first term, which is saying a lot. Because, normally the economy had usually a 7-year cycle, not always, but it was always kind of up and then down. The stock market was up and then down. But these trends haven't been followed for a very long time. We're living under an extremely strange financial time where it just keeps getting artificially inflated. The bubble keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's going to pop. And I think a lot of central controllers know it's going to pop. And what better way to have it pop with Donald Trump at the helm that will be blamed for all of this? As, of course, let's be honest here. We like the guy. We're going to be supporting the guy because of the Fury Ross and a bunch of other stuff. But financially, he also helped create this problem as well.
So it's interesting you bring all that up at this moment. And I'm going to. So maybe I am jumping on to your point. Maybe I'm cutting you off at the quip here. But cryptocurrency, right? Like, how's this going to affect crypto when it all starts popping? When it all starts melting down?
Well, it depends.
Go up, down?
It depends entirely on how the meltdown plays out. Is it a hyperinflation, in which case you would expect the cryptocurrency broadly, but Bitcoin specifically, to skyrocket? Or do they go the route of hiking interest rates to defend the dollar, in which case you create deflation, which would devastate the price of cryptocurrency across the board? I think it's one or the other, and I don't know which.
It's going to be interesting because Donald Trump is working very closely with the Bitcoin community. He is getting a lot of support from them, and he is promising a larger deregulation of Bitcoin, and even saying, potentially Donald Trump is seeing the writing on the wall here. He even talked about using Bitcoin as a way to deal with the U.S. national debt. Now, I don't know exactly how he does that. It seems like maybe he doesn't really understand, Bitcoin or how it really works.
We'll fix it. Yeah. Somehow there's a lot of money there.
Yeah, and then they are giving him a crap ton of money. People estimate that it's close to $100 million that the Bitcoin community is pooling together in order to give to Donald Trump in order to kind of secure his political election. How much do you think it is? What's the scuttlebutt? What's going on?
So I don't know hard numbers, but I know that there are coins that have been launched, like altcoins that are launched specifically for Trump's reelection, where they have a taxing mechanism. And then every portion of every buy and sell is getting sent to Trump's wallet, and there are multi-million dollars a day in volume. So tens of thousands, $100,000 a day of Ethereum is being sent to Trump's doxed wallet that were in court papers. Now, whether or not his people are able to access it or are allowed to, there's money there.
It's interesting.
And that also would kind of incentivize him to set up deregulations, so there wouldn't be an over amount of taxes on it, since he's getting a lot of money from it.
The coin I was talking about is specifically...
And then try to just speak into the mic. Try to move it a little bit closer.
Sorry. It's a coin called Trump coin, and there's a few like this. And I'm not a holder of it. I'm not advocating for it, but there is a 1% sell tax. So everyone who buys this token and then sells it, 1% goes directly to the Trump wallet, like his documented Ethereum wallet. And it's been accumulating. Now, whether or not he's able to convert it into actual Ethereum to actual USD to help his campaign, I don't know. But there is a significant amount of money being stacked in his wallet from this project and others.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that. That's very interesting. I do think that there is an angle at which a very intelligent either president or central banker could possibly angle or maneuver the U.S. into being basically the El Salvador, but with a printing press and the reserve currency of the world. You could migrate and purchase probably 1 million of the 21 million Bitcoin and just own it from the federal government level.
Yep.
And as long as the U.S. dollar is still standing, you can just print the money to do so and then transition into a Bitcoin standard. It's an interesting concept. You could also use that million Bitcoin to pay off the debt. I don't know. It's an interesting idea.
It's kind of like the only thing stopping that is the bureaucracy of the United States.
Well,
Yeah.
that,
I'm just trying to
and
say,
why
like,
would
there's-
you why would you give up your advantage? Like you have the printing press, you have unlimited borrowing and printing and spending capacity. You don't want to go to a hard asset backed anything. So
Yeah,
it's
something with
they would only do it out of
mathematical-
desperation. But I think
Yeah.
that the desperation is there. So I would like if I was in the White House, I would give it just like a real consideration.
Yeah, look at what El Salvador is doing. And Argentina's trying to figure out similar kind of methods to implement in their own country as well. But Alex, you've been aware of the kind of Bitcoin crypto space for a very long time. Did you ever think there's going to be a candidate that has a clear pathway to victory that's literally talking about deregulating Bitcoin and making it something that will help deal with the U.S. national debt?
To be honest, if that candidate were to emerge, it would be someone who's younger than us, someone who's.
But that's what Donald Trump is promising.
He's promising it, but I don't know if he fully grasps it. He needs to, like, maybe his advisors do, maybe he's taking advice from people, but if it were to truly happen, I mean, hopefully it happens. Maybe he's got great advisors, but maybe I'm skeptical. I think we need someone who's grown up with it.
Yeah.
Since birth.
Yeah. And I think this is still
Saifedean.
Yeah. This is still
Advise
very
Trump.
This is still kind of very new for Donald Trump, but
Yeah, it's new for all of us.
For some of the advisors that I know, they're pretty young, they're pretty hip, they know what's really going on, and they're directly talking and advising Donald Trump right now.
Saifedean Amos is the economic advisor to Bukele in El Salvador. So he's already like advised another nation and another central bank of a foreign nation into entering into a Bitcoin standard. I think it'd be very, very wise for the Trump campaign to reach out to him.
It would be revolutionary. It would cause. It would shake things up. Like, it's not
massively.
going. It's not going to be an easy transition.
No, it would be brutal.
It'll call
But
markets to go.
of course, and Bitcoin would go parabolic. So it'd be very extreme. But it's also, if you're looking down the barrel of 35 trillion in debt, and which is going to be 50 trillion in less than a decade. I mean, it's going to get completely untenable. It's already very close to being that, anyways. So it feels like if you still have the reserve currency, like in terms of game theory, like why would you not do this?
And OPEC already left the dollar standard, right? Like,
Not all of OPEC, I don't think, but certainly Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia didn't renew their 50-year kind of
Okay.
U.S. petrodollar
Well,
lease. Now,
those are all
there
hints.
still is some U.S. dollars on the market, but other countries now have the option of using
that
their
hint-
yuan or the ruble or whatever it might be.
crypto. That's
Or
what I
crypto
see.
as well.
That's what I
Yeah.
see.
And then does crypto and Bitcoin become what we've been kind of fearing, this kind of new world order, one government track, trace, and database
I
currency?
think
Is that a
absolutely.
legitimate concern?
I think absolutely. And I think that's one of the reasons that it was created to begin with. You have this anonymous, pseudonymous creator came out with the cryptocurrency saying, hey, all you cypherpunks, crypto anarchists, take this up. This is going to destroy the New World Order. Then everyone absorbs it. And then all of a sudden the system starts taking it over. And all of a sudden the system adopts it and they say, hey, you wanted this, right? So now we have these regulations. This is what you chose. It's almost as if they planned it from the beginning.
Yes.
So you got the one world religion, the one world government, the one world economy. Who's to say that this wasn't planned from the very get-go with some type of duplicitous agenda?
It's certainly a possibility, but I still think that if I just, again, evaluating this from a strategy perspective, if I am the U.S. government or the U.S. central banking establishment, there's no way in hell I would want Bitcoin to exist.
Yeah.
So
That's my
why
conflict
would
as well.
Yeah, so why would DARPA? I know people have theorized that DARPA is responsible for the creation of it, but I still don't understand the angle. Like, why would you create a competitor to your global reserve currency status? It just doesn't make sense.
Because it gets the globe. You understand? It's like it's no longer subjected to their policies, their paperwork, whatever their country's putting out. Now it's a global mathematical standard.
Yeah, but I guess then that would say that it's more likely that it would be the globalist entities that are responsible for creating it as opposed to DARPA, unless the U.S. government has been taken over by global government entities.
But there's so many anti-government, anarchistic, libertarian nerds that have been enriched by this technology that I think so far it's been a force for net
Were
good.
they enriched or were they bought out? where they bought out, like you're good now, right? You're not so much an anarchist anymore.
I think it depends on what they use it for.
Once you go to Miami and you see all these Bitcoin bros on their boats and their hoes, what better way to pacify a lot of the most capable and smartest people?
Taking down the New World Order until I got my boat, and now
hanging out, with all the girlfriends that you have.
I think it depends on if you're able to maintain your character with extraordinary wealth. Not everybody, most people can't. Most people lose their fire, their drive, everything else. So I wouldn't be surprised if it has removed a lot of good pieces from the chessboard, so to speak.
Steph, we have a super chat. Can you read it really quick?
Sure. We have Dog Boy saying the Dems do what they accuse Trump of. Then you realize that half of your friends and relatives not only don't care, but they fully support their crimes.
Yeah, pretty much nailed it there. As of course, continuing on with this story, the predicted market had some very interesting changes a couple hours ago. As of course, Joe Biden's chances of becoming the Democratic presidential nominee went down by 19 cents. Kamala Harris's chances went up to 15 cents, as of course Gavin Newsom is behind Gretchen Whitmer, and then Michelle Obama is down below with 7 cents on the dollar when it comes to this larger kind of predictive financial gambling market that a lot of people are betting money on.
Hillary at 5?
Hillary is 5 cents, yes.
Okay.
You're talking about predict it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just for the audience's understanding, I think it's important they realize that that's actually the betting market. So this is where people are putting their money. They actually think that Kamala looks like the second biggest favorite. But keep in mind too, Joe Biden is still leading by quite a bit in the prediction market. So it doesn't seem as if it's a foregone conclusion that they'll remove him.
Yeah, I think today was also a big day because there was a Democratic congressman that came out and literally wrote an op-ed saying that Kamala Harris needs to replace Joe Biden. And it's not just him. There's a lot of very prominent voices. There's also a lot of donors that are specifically threatening to, quote, pull the plug on Joe Biden and no longer support him. As, the writing, it's pretty much on the wall here. The Daily Mail didn't hold anything back, saying that Joe Biden, quote, doesn't give a damn about America or her husband. She'll humiliate him till he can take no more because she knows what will become of her next. Bill Maher had a very interesting take here saying, quote, why I want an open convention. It definitely does seem like the doors are closing in on Joe Biden as this pressure is mounting. And it's going to be fascinating to see what's going to be happening here, as even CNN kind of admitted the unbelievable. Glenn Greenwald pointed this out in a statement from CNN. They wrote how the White House has been very aggressive and successfully stopping their coverage over the president's age and concerns over his mental health. They wrote, quote, some folks to conclude that these stories are too painful to report on, that they should pick their spots more. It's clear the age stories that have angered the White House and the liberal Twitter sphere the most. Highlighting, we bowed down. We did what we were told. No surprise there from CNN there, but for them to say it openly, it's a pretty big admission here.
Yeah, and what it tells you is that the media fears the Biden administration. I mean, basically what they're saying fairly explicitly is that we didn't report negative things about Joe Biden because we feared the wrath of the White House. That doesn't represent a very free and open democratic system, now does it? That you have the journalists
It's kind of like
horrified
they're
to report?
admitting they were scared. It's like they're admitting they were scared. Now he's too feeble to get us in trouble.
Oh, exactly. It's like you have the little kid that points out that the emperor is naked, and then everybody else finally is like, yeah, okay, he's naked. He's been naked for years.
Yeah, they feared blowback from the White House. So I wonder what kind of leverage the White House has on CNN to say, you better say what we want you to say or else.
Well, let's think about it, right? Let's unpack it. Like, what have they done in the past?
CNN?
Yeah.
They propagated the WMD narrative. They've done everything. They definitely propagated the Ukraine-Russia war narrative.
Yeah, nothing they would be doing would be of a surprise.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just go back to Mockingbird, and it's like, well, we already know that there's definite relationships between
so it's
top
kind of
media.
like a threat. It's kind of more like a threat.
But this one
promise.
is interesting because the insinuation is fear of backlash.
Yeah.
Like, in what way are they able to lash back?
Yeah, and it's fair to say that they definitely weren't scared of the Trump administration.
Yeah.
They were running back-to-back stories about him being awful, him being horrible. They were literally making stuff up, lying about. There was an entire war of words between Jim Acosta and Donald Trump at press conferences where the two were screaming at each other. And what changed? What did the Biden administration do differently than the Trump administration that scared CNN from being able to report accurately to what was really going on?
They got CNN reporters as advisors.
Well, and keep in mind, too, simultaneously, while they are in fact afraid of the Biden administration, they are reporting to you every single day that Donald Trump is a fascist and he's coming after all of the media apparatchiks and he's going to weaponize the DOJ and he's this horrible tyrant figure that you must avoid at all costs. But simultaneously, they are acknowledging that, in fact, they felt full grace to besmirch Donald Trump's good name, but then they're horrified to say the truth about Joe Biden. I think that's a very fascinating admission.
No, it's huge. It's a major one, and it's a pretty big one, because you're kind of left speculating here. What in the world is going on here? As even Tucker Carlson changed his tune from what he was saying yesterday, as today he says Biden is done. Bet on it. Going on and describing how it's only a matter of time, and if they're smart, they're going to do it quickly, as he's also describing a situation that is very unpredictable that, quote, leaves us in legitimate danger, as he's asking the Democrats to pull back here and not to make any kind of large aggressive moves. Now, we were talking about this yesterday, and we even noted how Joe Biden is saving the union. Joe Biden is fighting for everyone to make sure that Donald Trump gets elected here, and everyone else is trying to scramble and trying to figure out what else is going to be the probability of who we're going to be replacing here, or what's going to be the larger strategy against Donald Trump here. So I think the coalitions are pretty clear here. And these comments from Tucker Carlson a couple hours ago are very interesting.
Well, just to double down on the point I was making earlier, what they're saying to you is that, in fact, when a Democrat is in power, or even a Republican that they get along with, that's where the actual power source is. Because Donald Trump was the president of the United States. They didn't fear him at all. They told you that they feared him, but in truth, they were lying about him and reporting every rumor that they could possibly get anyone to utter, and then they would just tell you, oh, unnamed source, unnamed government official says XYZ. 90% of the time it ended up being totally fictitious, but they just continued and persistently did so. But in reality, what they're actually afraid of is backlash from the Biden administration. It tells you everything you need to know. There is one power source in the government, and Donald Trump did not ever possess it. And I think, given that he was the president of the United States, it's really important that people actually tussle with that reality.
So he never had. So you're saying he never had power he never had that repercussions that Biden was able to do.
Exactly. He didn't.
He
never was the president.
Someone talks shit, Biden can go after him. Trump never had that.
Yeah, like Trump could do it from the bully pulpit. He could tweet about him. He could say something terrible about them, and then they would obviously flip out.
He wouldn't have.
But he wouldn't do it. But
medica.
He couldn't actually do anything though.
Yeah, the mainstream media apparatus would not back him.
Right, and that is a really important. It's already something we already knew. I mean, if you've been paying attention, you already knew it. But the fact that they're admitting it openly is really interesting. And why? And why would they just drop the mask like that? I don't know. It's fascinating.
I think they're seeing that they're going to lose, and they don't want to lose, and I think they're scared of losing. And the fact that they're openly afraid and admitting that they're afraid of the Biden administration as they're antagonizing Donald Trump at the same time really does highlight a very interesting kind of perspective here that should really make a lot of Americans kind of wonder what the hell's going on here. And how much power do these people really wield? And if they're able to stop criticism of them, what else are they able to do? As, of course, the Supreme Court also recently ruled that they could shape social media, especially when it comes to dealing with, quote, alleged disinformation. As, of course, that recent Supreme Court ruling was just absolutely awful, in my opinion. And it's one that is also going to lead us towards many possibilities that are not going to be good this political season, that the White House could obviously manipulate for their own kind of personal benefit.
I think another important thing for people to analyze is the fact that you had not just Biden, who's tweeted it repeatedly. He came out and said it personally. You've seen Kamala and Pelosi and AOC. Basically, the entire Democratic establishment has come out and said, we need to pack the Supreme Court. Like this is the type of rhetoric that they constantly accuse Donald Trump of, that he's this tyrant that's going to take extraordinary power for himself. But the truth is, like, anytime the Supreme Court went against Trump, he would just be like, well, I disagree. And it would, like, there was always this kind of imprimatur of legitimacy when it came to the Supreme Court, that we were, yes, sometimes they'll go against us and sometimes they'll get things wrong, but we still respect their position of authority as the supreme, rule of the or law of the land. That is not what we're seeing now. They are angling so strongly to either impeach any of the Supreme Court justices that they want removed, or pack it entirely, put on 5 more justices under Biden or whoever is the president at the time. I think this is more dangerous than really anything we've faced. If you actually pack the Supreme Court with 5 or 6 or 7 Sotomayor's, it's game over.
It's like Banana Republic type stuff.
Yeah.
They might not have to, because a lot of them are old, and if the Democrats win, they're going to be deciding a lot of the Supreme Court and its future. But it's still one of the few remaining government bodies that actually remains as a check against this larger kind of democratic globalist Build Back Better takeover that we've been seeing under the Biden administration. So it's going to be fascinating to see how it unfolds, as a lot of people say if the Democrats win this election, that they will win all the other future elections, especially with their immigration policies, especially with the census, especially with their congressional representation, especially with them being able to, of course, choose who's going to be the Supreme Court justice of this country, when most of them are going to be retiring soon. So the future of this country is in the hands of Middle America, in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Georgia, and in Arizona, and in Pennsylvania. The future of this country is in the hands of yokels and yuppies of Pennsylvania. And that is not a good
Pay attention, yokels and yuppies.
Yes, please.
Google some shit.
Yes, please. Like, let independent media speak. As of course, it's fair to say that this chilling effect that the Biden administration has on the corporate media, they also have on major big tech social media, except for Elon Musk, which they're actually battling and going to war with. But when it comes to Facebook, when it comes to YouTube, when it comes to Google, when it comes to all these other social media platforms like Instagram, it's fair to say, especially with Mark Zuckerberg giving Joe Biden hundreds of millions of dollars for the voter effort in the last election, that they're in his pockets. They're able to, of course, twist and spin and change the algorithms in a way that are going to be more favorable for the Democratic political party. So this kind of larger chilling effect that is happening with the corporate media translates to social media, and according to even many mainline studies, social media, Google, and these other online institutions can swing elections with what they decide to show you and not show you. And I think we saw that during the last election cycle, especially with the Hunter Biden laptop story. And I think we're going to see a lot of just finagling, a lot of just really manipulative stuff coming this year, as independent media is on the forefront of that. And that's why we are also streaming on other platforms, so we could at least have a freaking voice, as of course we are very lucky that we still are able to reach the audience members that we are, but we only are because of significant men putting significant risk on themselves and allowing us to have a platform that they're waging billions of dollars on in order to just have us and other people be able to speak to you directly, which is something that the White House doesn't want. The establishment doesn't want it as well, as the New York Times had a very interesting op-ed piece written today that is titled, "The First Amendment is Out of Control." Yes, that's a real guest opinion piece by the New York Times. Now, I refused to pay. I refused to set up a free account. I refused to log in. So with full transparency, I didn't read this article. The article could say, hey, we're just trolling you just so you click and talk about us. But it probably doesn't say that. But I think this is the larger ethos that we have been seeing from the corporate media, from the establishment, from the people in charge for a very long time, is that the rabble, the citizenry, shouldn't be able to talk to each other. You shouldn't be able to communicate with each other. Now, Alex, you work in the tech space, and I think it's fair to say that this censorship has ramped up to a very serious level. And for me, truly, if it wasn't for Chris Pavlovsky, if it wasn't for Elon Musk, we would be in a lot more of an awful situation than if it wasn't for these men.
Oh, absolutely. And even when it comes to Alex Jones, he was I think he's kind of the stalwart when it comes to being attacked when it comes to First Amendment stuff, especially with the whole Sandy Hook case. And even with my own case, the place I previously was employed at for 10 years, they didn't like the things I was saying on social media when it came to cryptocurrency. So now all of a sudden I'm an independent contractor. So big tech, they have a big sway.
Yeah, they have many ways to try to manipulate what you're able to see, what you're able to hear, what you're able to actually connect with. As AJ says, there's a war on for your mind. And I think it's a legitimate one, and it's a very big one. But there are a lot of individuals. Do you know any other individuals that are fighting for kind of online internet free speech?
I mean,
are there any other kind of platforms or any other kind of institutions or groups you're seeing out there that are doing good things to allow people to actually have free speech in this country?
I don't know how much directly it goes to free speech, but I would just want to give a shout out to Ryan Montgomery.
Just move the mic.
Oh, sorry. I don't know how much it directly has to do with free speech, but it has to do with, just free humanity. Ryan Montgomery is doing what he needs to do when it comes to the social media stuff, exposing what needs to be done when it comes to attacking against kids, when it comes to attacks against politicians. I mean, Alex Jones has always been at the forefront. David Icke, a lot of the same folks we've been known for the last 10, 15 years. It's just now it's a lot harder to hear them because they're tampered down.
Not just them, but you do a lot of work online. I think the biggest kind of detrimental effect that this censorship has had is that a lot of new people that were coming up or that could have came up were kneecapped and prevented from having careers or voices.
Exactly.
We have women that go mega viral and have online careers.
I wish I could name some of these folks when you asked me that, but the fact of the matter is I don't know their names because they've been kneecapped.
Yeah. And then a lot of independent media has been stifled in such a significant way. We had to fight to stay alive this year. It wasn't an easy year. We were in the red for the majority of this year. We're finally now doing a little bit better now than we were earlier this month. But there's a lot of underhanded things that do happen behind the scenes here on YouTube. That's why we keep asking you guys, hey, get these videos out there. It's more important than ever to have these conversations. You guys are a crucial part of this, and we're not just kind of any content creator out there, as of course there's a lot of uphill battles that we have to face that a lot of individuals who don't get into these topics, don't talk about these issues, never have to deal with at all. And that's why we also want to thank our sponsors and the people that work with us. One of the companies that we just recently started to work with is, of course, Alpine Gold. I really like these guys. I was able to meet them in real life at PorkFest, and it was awesome being able to kind of look them in the eyes, talk about their kind of reputation, what they do, what they're working on, as of course they previously worked with Ron Paul. And I think it's fair to say that whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's Donald Trump, whoever the next president of the United States is.
That's the Goldback vendor?
Yep.
Oh, very nice.
We got the Goldbacks here.
Can I see that?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely go check them out at getintogoldnow.com. That is
awesome.
The website, and they are pretty cool. And it's what the Free State Project up in New Hampshire has been using during their market days. They usually have a market day like once a month, and people from the community come together and they vent. And they're like, "Hey, I got this thing that I made. I got organic sourdough bread that I have here. Hey, I was able to finally slaughter my pigs. Do you want some bacon?" It's a really great community. These things are really cool. You could get them right now on getintogoldnow.com. goldnow.com. They actually have real gold inside of them. And with the cost of inflation, these things, the $1 ones were worth $1. Now they're worth about $5. That shows
Yeah,
you.
because it's 24 karat gold leafs.
Yeah. There's literal gold in there. So definitely go check them out. As of course the dollar is losing a lot of its value. And get into goldnow.com has these gold backs. They have IRAs. They have many different ways that you could get involved with them. Go check them out. Go support our sponsor, because if it wasn't for our sponsor, we wouldn't be in the black. And plus, it's a win-win. They do really good stuff. And it's a pleasure and honor to be working with these individuals doing these like really cool things and really cool products that you actually get to have in your physical hands.
I love that stuff.
Their IRA program is one of the only programs in the world that allows you to earn guaranteed interest with the ability to spend and use your metals with 0% spread.
Wait, they have an IRA program?
They do. The government and Fed can't control inflation on their own, or their own spending, rather. And for the first time in human history, we have the technology and ability to have an alternative option to spend, preserve, and increase wealth. Check out Alpine Gold today.
Yeah, I like gold, so this is just
I like
kind
gold!
of common sense for me, and hopefully it's common sense for you. So go check them out. Go support our sponsor.
Fantastic.
Okay, fantastic. Yes, people remember.
Yes, very good. As of course, Alex has gold in his teeth, literally. As we are going to now transition over to a free speech platform where we get to say and do what we want. We have a bunch of hilarious videos, videos that are a little bit too spicy here that we can't play on this platform, that we're going to be playing on the next platform. That you could find us on the platform that rhymes with Bumble. Bumble.com/we are change is the platform. Go find us there now. The conversation
dating site.
Yeah. Well, no, not the you know what I mean, not the dating one. The other one that we can't mention here because YouTube automatically sees it and then destroys and kneecaps our reach through the algorithm. Jeremy from the Quartering literally was watching his kind of algorithm in real time, and when he said the word that rhymes with Bumble,
No shit. It actually
it actually limited his reach every time he said it, and that's how he correlated them, not doing that. So again, conversation continues, totally free, uncensored way. We got a lot of spicy videos. We're going to be taking callers in about 30 minutes. I think we have one person that might potentially call in. You could be that person that could call in right now. Sign up to lukeunfiltered.com. Go to the Telegram channel, and you could be a part of this conversation in about 30 minutes as we move over to this other channel. Before we do, Alex, where can people find out more information about you?
So go to hackmiami.com. I hope to see you at the next hackmiami.com conference, which takes place every May in Miami Beach, Florida.
Yeah, there's one guy there that we met that literally was catching online predators.
Oh, yes.
That we can't talk about this subject here, but we're going to talk about that subject. We're going to talk about RFK potentially eating dogs and the larger hit pieces against him also on that particular platform and a lot of other stuff. So hackmiami.com.
Hackmiami.com. Hopefully you'll see you all out there next year.
I have the great Dr. Ron Paul on my show on the 4th of July. It is the most American thing that has ever happened to me in my entire existence. I could not be more pumped for it. This guy has been my hero forever. So please do tune into Liberty Lockdown. I'm going to try not to cry as I interview the guy. I love him so much. Also, we will be at
Freedom Fest,
and we're also in talks with Young Americans for Liberty for their Orlando event. We'll see if that pans out, but we're working on it. If you want to see us there, certainly let them know. What else?
I think Freedom Fest, the promo code was what was it? WRC10?
We are change 50.
You said 50, but I don't know.
We are change 50.
That's what
I'm
you said
messaging
yesterday.
my friend who's organizing all of this.
We
and
are change 50 for Freedom Fest.
I think you get a percentage off of tickets there, but we're working on some big shows. We're working on having Rob Schneider on next week, and a lot of the bigger kind of headliners. I think Javier Milei was supposed to be there, and then he's not there. Maybe he will be there. So we aim for the stars here. This is the best political show. We don't hold back. Yep. As of course, we mean it when we say it. Look at the studio. Look at the upgrades we're making here. We're busting our butts here, working really hard for you. So I appreciate you guys. So anything else, Clint?
Yeah, if you guys are there at Freedom Fest, I will also be doing a panel discussion. It was supposed to be myself and Vivek. I'm not sure if Vivek is in, but it's going to be Angela McArdle and Brett Weinstein, or Weinstein. I don't know how you pronounce it. Anyways, he's brilliant, and it's going to be a fantastic conversation. It's basically roundtable about how to defeat the deep state. So I think it's going to be a super interesting conversation. Hopefully Vivek gets there too. I like that guy a lot. But yeah, Liberty Lockdown and at Liberty Lockpod on X, Liberty Lockdown on Instagram, Liberty Lockdown, blah, blah, blah. Clint Russell, what's up?
I just, that's also in the description. So it's in the description, so you guys could click on Clint's channels and then go subscribe to his work and his interview with Ron Paul this Thursday, which is going to be pretty awesome. Is that live or are you pre-recording that?
I'm going to pre-record it just because I want to be able to get maximal impact out of it.
Be able to cry and then get the tissues. People
I have to be able to cry. If I go live, I don't want to have people see me cry.
For him, so maybe we could do a trip out to Galveston and see him for this show.
That'd be cool.
So that's. I also messaged Brett. So Brett Weinstein could be coming on the show Thursday. I don't know. I'm working my butt off here, and I hope you guys appreciate it. Steph, you talk way too much. Seriously.
And next time, when we get to the next place, I'll talk a little more.